5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As the heel turns, with Gaz, Vinny, Dan America, and the Tig Man. This week, the guys count down the top 5 Undertaker matches of all time. You just made the list!
It is another edition of the As the Heel Turns WWE podcast. Gaz here with you, Tigman, Dan America, Vinny, here with the top 5 list of the best Undertaker matches of all time. Now, the Dead Man may have wrestled his final match at WrestleMania. No official word, no retirement ceremony yet, but all signs point to Undertaker's legendary career now being over, and we're going to rank the top 5 matches of all time. You can always let us know what you think. Comment below on Facebook.com. Also, Q103, 1045, the team. Let us know what your top 5 Undertaker matches are of all time, and I will start things off with number 5. Number 5 may be the moment where Undertaker became a legendary figure in the WWE, and that was a year after he debuted. Survivor Series 1991. Undertaker versus Hulk Hogan with the legend Ric Flair getting involved. Taker tombstones Hogan, wins the WWF then championship, and becomes the champion. You have Taker, Flair, and Hogan involved in a match at Survivor Series. It doesn't get much better than that. He wins his first title. I'm putting that at number 5 on my list.
Anybody? Any comments on that one?
There was a funny story I've heard about that.
Comment.
There's a funny story I know about that match. Has anybody heard about the fact that when Taker tombstoned him, Hogan went backstage and complained that he didn't protect him and he landed him on his head?
I heard that story. Yes, I heard something about that.
Taker, of course, Hogan would complain about that.
Of course. Taker felt horrible about it until Coliseum Home Videos released it and he saw it. And yeah, that's one of the big reasons Hogan put over Undertaker at Judgment Day 2002.
Because of that match way back
because
then?
Hogan,
let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Hey, that came from upper officials within WWE whose podcast I happen to listen to.
Did he need that, though, to get over 11 years later? I mean, he was Undertaker.
No, but you know what? It's like, hey, you lied. Come on. I didn't hurt you at all.
Yeah.
There was a good, 4, 5, 6 inches until his head would have hit. That's what she said.
All I know about that match is that was another one where Hogan afterwards says, I didn't feel right about it, man. I don't feel right about it. And that's why they had this Tuesday in Texas immediately afterward, which also has the Jake Roberts-Randy Savage match that is just absolutely disturbing. However, I think that was a pretty good match. I agree with you that really made Taker in the eyes of the fans, but I have 2 on my list that I feel put a more emphasis on making Taker who he was to be, but it's all in around the same time, so I think that you picked a good area to start.
Nice.
I probably should have had that on my list with being Undertaker, Flair, and Hogan all involved there.
I thought you definitely would have had it. And it's kind of interesting because you and I both are definitely not Taker fans. I think on our old podcast on As the Heel Turns, Tig and I both had Taker as the number 1 most overrated wrestler of all time. So it's digging at me and Tig right now.
Do you know how uninterested I was to do the podcast tonight? When Vinny gave me the topic, I said, my heart ain't in it. But
what do you got for number 5 on your list?
We pulled it together. You're going to all laugh about this one, and you're probably not even going to know the match. Number 5 on my list is Undertaker versus jobber Tony DeVito.
Now, Jesus, Tig.
Reason being is because Tony is from where I grew up in Poughkeepsie.
Oh, come on.
Now,
why not?
All right, Tony would go on to be one of the Baldies in ECW back in the day, but Tony still lives in the Hudson Valley. This goes back to 1994, Superstars of Wrestling, Undertaker versus Tony DeVito, who at the time was being hailed from New York City, but there were other later on. I think it was later on they started saying from Poughkeepsie, New York, Tony DeVito.
I was going to say, with how often the WWE ran the Mid-Hudson Civic Center at that point in time, why wouldn't they say he was from Poughkeepsie?
I actually probably saw that match when it aired.
Right?
Sitting there eating my Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah.
In my pajamas.
Superstars of Wrestling on Saturday mornings. Only reason that made it, obviously, to my list top 5 is because Tony DeVito holds a soft spot.
Yeah. So we got somebody that used to wrestle in bingo halls on Tig's list.
Did you ever get a story out of Tony about what it was like working with Undertaker? Did you ever hear of like, wow, man, like that was it. I could have been done with wrestling after taking the job to Taker.
Right? Well,
probably.
I didn't get to talk too much about it, but whenever he's in some of those groups on Facebook, Tony DeVito, and whenever it's his birthday, I'll post on Facebook the great happy birthday to the great Tony DeVito, one of my favorite matches of all time, and post the link of him getting tombstoned by Undertaker. So that's my number 5 match.
Dan America, I don't know if you have that as your number 5, but if you don't, tell us your number 5.
I have heard him discuss.
Oh, you had it on your list video. Number 1.
No. I heard Dan America discuss some of his possible picks, so this should be interesting.
All right.
Okay, my number 5, it actually, Vinny has already referenced it, and it's the follow-up to your number 5. My number 5 is Judgment Day, when Hogan takes the title back off of Taker, and here's why.
2002 is the year on this, right?
Yes, 2002.
In the Gaylord Civic Center in Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow.
I just watched this match like a couple hours ago, and Hogan's no-selling. Not only is Hogan no-selling, he's being a prick, because at one point Hogan has Taker in a leg scissors, and Hogan starts smacking Taker in the face with his leg, but he busts Taker's mouth open. And, you're saying that, there's that podcast where Hogan complained about the chair thing, and that's why he put him over.
Well,
Hogan didn't really put him over. Hogan was not selling choke slams. Hogan was not selling any of Taker's moves, and he was being way too stiff. And you could tell from the expressions on their faces that Hogan was sticking it to Taker, and Taker was pissed at Hogan. And that's why in that second choke slam of that match, Taker gets a little bit more height than he did the first, because Taker's pretty much at that point saying, you know what, I'm just going to take you, and if you're going to go dead weight, then I'm going to still lift you up. And it just shows the Hogan politics in that match, I feel, because you could tell that Taker is getting visibly frustrated during that match because Hogan is no-selling, Hogan is going dead weight on him, and Hogan is actually taking shots at Taker, legitimately hitting him, legitimately kicking him in the face. Hogan's being sloppy. I felt that it was Hogan's way of saying, I have to lose to you tonight, but I'm not going to do it gracefully, and I'm not going to make it easy for you. And then Taker saying, oh, yeah, well, watch this. And that's why it makes my number 5, because it's almost reminiscent of Mean Mark Calloway. And in that match, I feel that Taker showed you more of his human side than before, because Hogan frustrated him. And also, Taker wins the Undisputed title on that match, so it's good for an Undertaker fan like me. And you guys really think that he's overrated?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
John Cena didn't make the list because he's an entertainer?
We didn't have John Cena on the list. I think Tig might have had John Cena. Were you going to have this on your list as well, this Under Judgment match?
No.
I had a question about this match because I guess it's more so the booking than the match itself. I think of this match like when Michaels wrestled against Hogan at that SummerSlam. Shawn Michaels is just like overselling where he's
why he's overselling? Because
he got switched at the end or something. Right.
Yeah.
But like that's what this match feels like. Idea-wise, as like wrestling fans that we are, the idea of Undertaker versus Hogan, this is awesome. But like those guys' egos are so big, like they don't want anything to do with it.
I don't think Taker's ego is that big.
I have one more thing to say about that Judgment Day match. The match was fun to watch because Taker's getting frustrated at Hogan, and Hogan's kind of being a jerk.
Duty?
Yeah, a duty jerk.
Nice.
And it's the promo that Taker cuts on the Monday Night Raw after. You guys remember what he says?
No.
He comes out in the ring with the title and says, so I had to kill Hulkamania again, and I had to beat Hogan for the title again. And then Triple H comes out, and, they have a big face-off and whatever. But I just like that match because Hogan tried to stick it to Taker, and Taker turned it around. It's a display of backstage politics, I feel, and it's the closest you'll see Undertaker being Mark Calloway in that match.
Number 5 for you, Vinny.
See, right before I get to that, I want to make one point because it's something that I struggle with making this list. Love Taker. Absolutely love him, but man, did that dude turn it on at WrestleMania. And for me, this list was kind of hard for me not to put Mania matches on, just for the sheer fact the dude shined. And I can't. Maybe it was when I started watching wrestling. He was part, the Ministry of Darkness. Didn't have many outstanding technical 5-star matches. He had memorable ones, but not many that stand out. I'm making my list off ones I think are 5-star matches. I enjoy each and every one of these, but has it been hard for anybody else to make one of these lists without Mania matches?
I have 2 Mania matches. Not to, quick spoiler alert, but
No, I got some Mania matches, I think, in here, but
I've got 2 Mania matches. I think
Okay,
that you
I've
can
got
make
3.
most
All
of
right.
Mania
I'll get
matches.
started off with number 5, my first Mania match. 2008, when he fought against Edge. I thought that match with Edge, he really, really did everything he could to put Edge over while still taking the win. But you know what? That made Edge even more, in my opinion. His matches with Cena launched him. His match with Taker cemented him in the main event picture. And Taker put on one hell of a match in Orlando, WrestleMania 24. And that's why it's on my list. I just think it was so good. The storyline going in was great. They carried through the storyline to Extreme Rules, One Night Stand later that year. Just a very, very good match. Feud of the year, I believe, by PWI was Taker and Edge in 2008.
yeah, and that Edge feud, as good as a career Edge had, I wonder if that's the best match or the most important match of his career.
I'm sure it probably is.
I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Maybe when he cashes in Albany, but that's not a match.
Maybe the TLC match he had in Toronto in front of his family.
Maybe that's a good match. Isn't there something involved with the ring in that match? Didn't someone go through the ring or someone get thrown to hell?
No, that happened later on when he
Okay.
was in the summer. I believe that was at SummerSlam when they had the Hell in the Cell match. But that was an amazing feud for me, and the Mania match was great.
I don't know if anyone else has that on their list, but I'm going to go to another Mania match. Dan America, do you have that on your list by any chance?
Which one?
The match
Taker,
Edge and
Edge,
Taker.
WrestleMania
at
24.
Oh, no, but
All right,
I do like that
I
match.
think everyone may have this, and I thought maybe it should have been higher, but I'll give my reasoning throughout this of why it's not higher. HBK versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 25, the original feud between the two.
I have it on my list.
I have a
It's not
feeling
there.
a few of you guys may have that because a lot of people think of that match as one of the great matches in WWE history. Just for me as a fan, I wish I could have seen that match 6 years earlier, 7 years earlier when these guys were really in their prime. Watching that as a fan, I never thought at one point, as good as the match is, that Shawn Michaels was going to win. There's something about not knowing who's going to win, no matter what age you are, that makes it still entertaining. Or if there's an isolated moment where you're like, wow, I can never forget when this happened. That's why it's at number 4 for me on my list. I don't know if anyone else has the original Taker Shawn Michaels on their list.
I have it on my list. Should I let it all loose?
Let it
right
all
now?
loose, Vinny. Let it all loose. Let it
right.
hang out.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's my number 1.
Ooh,
You got to remember
wow.
though when we did the best matches podcast, that was my number 1 match, my favorite match of all time. I love watching that match to this day. Coming into WrestleMania season every year, watch that match. I watched the match with him at 26. That match, 5 stars, should not have been in the middle of the show, but that's my number 1.
Do you understand that criticism I had of it, though?
I do, 100%.
If you had it sooner.
I 100% understand the criticism. Like I said to you earlier, that match was the better match, but his match with 26 had a better storyline because at least with the Michaels retirement angle, you kind of actually didn't know who was going to win. You thought it would be Taker, but you didn't think that Michaels would retire. So that one had a better storyline behind it, but 25, number 1.
Tig or Dan America, did you guys have that on your list? 25.
no, but I will tell you, I did have Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at Bad Blood, 97, Hell in a Cell.
Ooh, where's that on your list?
That was Bad Blood in your house. That came in at number 3 for me.
Ooh.
I also have that on my list.
Great, brutal match. There was a couple of things I had forgotten about that pay-per-view that when I was brushing up on the history about the event. Do you know that that afternoon Brian Pillman was found dead?
Yeah.
Wow.
At the afternoon of that pay-per-view, he was supposed to fight Dude Love at the event, so that didn't happen. And also, it marked the on-screen debut of Kane,
Yes. 'cause
who
he comes
interviewed at the end of that match.
at the end of the
And the
match.
But
last
Shawn
pay-per-view,
Michaels ended up
McMahon to color.
defeating. Shawn Michaels ended up defeating Undertaker in that Hell in a Cell match. He became number 1 contender for the WWF Championship.
So you also have that on your
I
list,
was.
Vinny, as
That was
well. Dan
also,
America, get to yours
that
in a
was
second.
also the last pay-per-view that McMahon did commentary on.
Really? The Bad Blood
That
97?
That was. 97 was JR and Lawler.
Why do you like this match so much like Tig does?
For me, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of firsts. I believe it's the first time. It's probably not the very first time Taker ever fought Michaels, but it's the first time it was showcased. The first time of Hell in the Cell, just the aura of that match going in, the build-up of it. It was something building from SummerSlam. The fact that there was a lot of color in that match, the bumps that Michaels took, the simplicity of a Hell in the Cell like that as compared to what happens today. There were the only insane spot was Michaels falling maybe 6 feet off of the cell. Big deal. Well, what Shane did last year at Mania.
Right.
But
he's kind of jumping onto a pillow.
That match, also the debut of Kane ripping the door off, even though, it wasn't really a challenge there.
Do it.
So many things. By God, that's Kane.
There you go.
Oh wait, that's gotta be Kane.
That was great. McMahon probably should have been done. He probably lost his voice after. That's why his commentary career
St.
ended.
Louis, Missouri, as well as where that was.
Oh, it was awesome.
Kemper Arena, I believe it's called.
So I just want to mention, though, that one came in at number 3, the Hell in a Cell. So I should tell you what my number 4 was.
Yeah, tell us your number 4.
That was Undertaker versus Triple H, Miami, 2012, WrestleMania 28.
God, I'm never going to get to talk about any
This
of
was
the
Hell
ones
in
on
the
my
Cell.
list.
Man, that was my number 1.
That's on my list.
Wow.
That's my
This was
number 3.
Shawn Michaels, special referee.
Tig, you're ruining it.
That was my that was my number 4.
You're healing
number
it up.
4. All right, I'm going to
This
go
is
Dan
so
America
heel.
first.
Okay.
Because that's your number 1.
Yeah.
Tig likes this match. I don't even have this match on mine. I'll tell you why in a second. But go ahead. Why it's your number 1?
I thought it was a great match because I think what made it such a great match for me is because at the time we had been deprived of a match like that for so long that when it happened, like when they're both in there and the bell rings and they start throwing fists, you hear this roar in the crowd, and that roar in the crowd is like the ghost of the Attitude Era. Because when they start going at it in that match, you knew that Taker was 100% because WrestleMania 27, he got hurt and all that, and it kind of took away from the match. But when people saw that Taker was ready to go with Triple H in the cell at 28, people ate it up. I thought the storytelling in the match was brilliant. You got Michaels interfering, the sweet chin music to the pedigree. I thought it was over right there and then it wasn't. That match just had a little bit of everything. There was submission, there was power, there was jumping, there was kicks from Michaels, there was weapons. And,
It had it all, right?
Yeah, it was a vicious, brutal Attitude Era style match, and I thought it was great.
Vinny, you also had on your list. Why?
I would also say this. The fact that when they look up at the cell, that was when Taker debuted the Mohawk.
Yeah.
That was like, whoa! Also, Shawn Michaels being involved in it. The fact that when they look up at the cell, being hidden above the ring, fortune, fame. You got Metallica play. It's like, oh my God, this is setting such a vibe. I will critique the end of the era part because, wonder which one of those has retired quickest. You wouldn't have thought that it would be another 5 years. End of an era, my ass.
That's one reason why I didn't have that list on my top 5.
I think it was end of an era because it was the last time the 3 of them were going to be active in the ring.
That's a good point.
Michaels comes back, but he does commentary, goes into the ring, says a little something, kicks someone in the face, but he doesn't really get as involved as he did in that match.
That entire match, though, I'm just telling you, all of the the weaponry, just the sheer vibe and brutality of that match. Wow,
it stole the show, and I still remember going into it. As we've said before, not a huge Taker
it wasn't
fan.
Up against much. It was about
Sure.
the Rock and Entertainer.
Right, Rock and Cena was that, but it seemed as if you still have an older
Punk
Taker,
and
Punk and Jericho. But like for me, who's not a huge Taker fan, not a huge Triple H fan, I like Michaels, but I'm like, you know what? These two, do they really have to do it? They've done it at a Mania before this. I'm not into the match. But I changed during the match, which I think is the hugest compliment you can give something where you have no interest in it at all, and then you love it at the end. Is credit to both those guys in ring work in that night. I think we need number 4 from Dan America on your list. Because you have 1, we have 5. Do we have 4 yet on your list?
My number 4 is Brett Taker, Survivor Series 93.
Ooh.
I thought it was a good match. I thought that Brett really brought out the technical wrestling ability in Undertaker. I thought that...
You mean Survivor Series 95?
Wait, I have it down SummerSlam 93.
SummerSlam... This could be wrong. I'm going to check. Fact check. Right
Anyways, we'll cut that out.
I had to fact check myself.
Keep going with the match, though. What do you remember about that match that made it so good?
It was just, it was a Taker like you haven't seen. Also, I saw some of the dark matches for this. I thought it was pretty cool. You know, Vinny's got me all paranoid
SummerSlam
now.
97, Dan. SummerSlam 97.
Wait, it couldn't have been SummerSlam.
Are you thinking it with
97.
Michaels as the referee?
No, I'm not thinking about the one with Michaels as referee.
Because I don't think he ever fought.
Oh,
him at
wait, you know
SummerSlam.
what? I think I did write the wrong one down. So you're probably right.
SummerSlam 93, Brett wasn't even champion.
You have an incredible mind, the encyclopedia of it. But from the match that you can remember, you enjoyed Hart, Taker. You enjoyed what they were doing in the ring. Maybe not so much storyline wise, but what happened inside.
You know what I just typed in because I was so like distracted or unsure. I just tried to look up Bret Hart versus Bret Hart.
All right, well, you figure out that. You figure out that. I'm going to give my 3 because I don't think anyone else had that on the list.
He also fought him at Rumble 96, just saying.
My number 3 may be the most bizarre match of all of them, even though that one's out there. I had to go back and watch this morning. I thought I was going to be late to the show today. It was.
I think I know what you're going to say.
July 1st, 2002 on Raw. Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker for the Undisputed Championship. It was awesome. There's a moment in this match, and this is perfect. This is the reason I put it over the Mania match. Hardy is still coming up. He's trying to be the guy. He has all this charisma that people remember. And he is doing this storyline. Remember the old Ruthless Aggression when it was Cena and all these guys like trying to make a name for themselves? Yeah. So they used Hardy to do that. But what Jeff Hardy was doing is he would jump and like go after the big dog, basically. And Taker was the champion. He's like, what is this guy doing? Like, what is he doing? They have a championship match. And what Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler do during that match, as great as they were, go back and just listen to them. That may be the best match together they've ever called. Okay. Jim Ross is selling Hardy as the greatest upset of all time. By God, kid, do it! Make yourself famous! Climb the ladder! Make yourself famous! It's so perfect. Like, if you've never watched any of that, and you listen to Ross and Lawler sell that match, and Jeff Hardy's doing flips, he's doing this, and it's great. And Taker finally, the crowd is going nuts for Jeff Hardy to win it. He can't do it. And at the end, Taker wins.
Shakes his hand.
Shakes his hand. Waits till after, though. Hardy's laid out in the ring, and Hardy grabs the mic and is like, I'm not done yet, Taker. And Taker wants to tombstone him. But to think about that, if you have the Undertaker get in the ring and shake your hand and almost put yourself over, you almost forget how good Jeff Hardy was in 2002. Like, he could have been the guy over other people. Go back and watch the match tonight on the network. It is awesome.
I have figured out my brain fart here. I figured out why I wrote down 1993.
So sorry for calling you out on that, by the way.
No.
He is.
Okay.
He loved calling you out.
No, I will tell you why it's okay, because I'm changing my number 4. I wrote down...
What? Man, change!
I am changing my number 4 because there's a reason why I wrote down 93. The reason why I wrote down 93 is because originally I was going to put down Bam Bam Bigelow versus Undertaker in 93. It's a rare match that I saw the other day on a wrestling site.
It's almost as rare as Undertaker versus Tony DeVito.
Yes, it is. And I felt that it was a decent match. It was a slobber knocker. It was a good Smash Mouth style match. You know, Taker's just getting started. He's going up against the Beast from the East, and they put on a very decent, classic match for what it was at the time. I wrote the Brett Taker down thing because I just wanted to get, Brett in there, because I like to get Brett in there as often as possible. It sounds kind of weird when you say you want to get the Brett in there.
I thought we got rid of Zach Biden. Bret Hart sneaking into a podcast again.
Okay.
Vinny, I think almost...
He's thinking of some sunny days.
I think
I just took Brett out to put in Bam Bam. I'm pretty much saying Bam Bam is more entertaining than Brett here.
You're getting a big one in there.
I don't want to be no Zach Lego maniac.
Is there anything left on your list, Vinny? I think we did 4 of yours. Which is left?
Oh my God, we did. I have one left.
Okay, what's your one left? I hope it's this
2.
one.
Should we skip until we get...
No, go to 2, because I think my number 2 is also your number 2. Or maybe my number 1. We'll find out here.
It's going to be a little bit of a...
Do I have to prove to people
I'm stunned this match has not been mentioned yet. I'm stunned.
For me, number 2, No Way Out 2006, Undertaker versus Kurt Angle for the World Heavyweight Championship.
I was actually thinking of putting that one in, but I couldn't stand the pants Undertaker wore.
Undertaker, yeah, they were the skinny ones. Taker, though, I'm just saying, for the age he was 42 years old. He's going around that ring. He's moving quicker than Kurt. Phenomenal entrance by Taker for at least the time, coming out with the light behind him. Everything in that match, the debut of Hell's Gate, it was a really good match. He took an angle slam through a table.
You ever try to put that on someone?
Well, the way Taker does it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, but it really hurts people when you try to put it on them.
Okay.
It's an insane move. Yeah.
Just that whole match, the fact that he's got Taker in the ankle lock for at least half the match. It's just, I personally love that match. The way it ends, he's in the triangle choke, the Hell's Gate. Angle flips over, 1, 2, 3, it's done. Taker chases the referee. I personally love that match. Loved it when it happened, and I still love it to this day.
Boring.
You put a Baldy on your list.
30 minutes in the leg lock? What are you talking about? That's enough to tell me it was a boring match.
Anti-Taker.
Come on.
How many more matches are left on your list?
Well,
Tig?
Probably all of them, because the first one had the Baldies in it.
I got 2.
right,
Only one of the balls.
We haven't talked about the big one yet.
I know we
though,
haven't talked about the big
okay,
one
It's
yet.
my number 2.
I think it might be Tig's number 1 or 2. We'll see.
Yes,
All right, let's see.
I think I know obviously which one you guys are talking about. I did my number 3. It was the Hell in the Cell Undertaker.
Well, that was the big one
with
that I was talking about.
Triple H, Shawn Michaels referee. Number 2 will
Oh, no, not that
surprise
one,
you
not that
guys. Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. Not from WrestleMania 30 when Brock got tombstoned and his head freaking was 3 feet from the damn ring mats.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the rematch the next year at SummerSlam 2015. This is when Undertaker had him in Hell's Gate. He gives him the finger.
Yeah,
This was great. This was great. The premature ringing of the bell.
Yes.
Brock
Yeah,
Lesnar
yeah.
thinks he's won. He gets, Taker hits him in the balls. Ends up, what
That
happened?
famous meme, right, where he sits up and he's laughing in his face and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
And he ended up,
love that.
Lesnar ended up passing out from the
Hell's Gate,
The
I
Hell's
think he got,
Gate.
right?
He got
Yeah.
it. So, I'm a big Lesnar mark. So I was on my seat watching that. I was ready for him to beat Undertaker, which, didn't happen. But
Yeah.
I thought the match was great.
It was another moment where, again, I liked the build up to the match, and I was thinking,
Yeah.
oh man, I don't know if it's going to be good, and it was good.
Yeah.
Yep.
The whole thing was good. I liked it.
I liked the match. It was a very intense match, I felt.
I got another one for 2. I thought we were all going to have the same 2, and I think we all have the same one left. So I'm just going to jump to my 2. WrestleMania 14, Undertaker versus Kane. If you go back to storylines and wrestling history, I mean, this was as perfect as you can to do a storyline. Brothers Kane, the build-up, the match finally happens at WrestleMania. You guys brought up the Bad Blood Hell in the Cell, but it all led to WrestleMania. The Paul Bearer, when is Kane going to debut? Watch that from start to finish. I think YouTube still has it. Like, it is perfect storytelling.
Yeah.
And the fact that it happens at WrestleMania 14, we're almost 20 years removed from that, and people still remember that they're brothers. They're both still active. It's a great match because it's finally like how wrestling does it. Build up to the biggest show, the biggest rivalry. That was number 2 on my list. Dan America, I think you might break it for the other 3 of us. I'm stunned this is not on your list, by the way, Vinny. This match.
I haven't done my number 3 yet.
Okay, do your number 3. Go
I'm
ahead.
on my number 3, right?
Yeah, do it up.
Okay, first of all, I would like to apologize again for writing 93. I really wanted to
I
put
thought
that
he
Bam
was-
Bam one down there. So.
I thought he was going to say Giant Gonzalez. I'm
No.
like, get out of this room!
Let's get to my number 3, and I have a very good reason why this is my number 3, although I felt that the match was lacking a little. My number 3 is Undertaker, Jake the Snake Roberts, WrestleMania 8. And why this is my number 3 is because I loved the funeral parlor promo for this, where Jake slams Taker's hand into the casket.
Oh, I love it.
And Taker drags the entire set of the funeral parlor
Yes.
as he's still walking after Jake, and Jake's hitting him with chairs and stuff, and Jake is like looking at him like, this guy's still coming at me. It was beautifully
I was the little
acted.
kid in the living room
Oh, yeah.
watching that on the television on a Saturday morning, loving that. Yeah, that was great.
And this was the storyline that turned me into an Undertaker fan, because this all happens because Jake is going to attack Liz and Randy as they're coming backstage,
Yep.
and with the chair, and then Taker grabs it, and then, Jake's like, whose side are you on? And Taker's, not yours.
I got to see that match. I honestly got to be, I'll
That's
be
good
honest, I
stuff.
missed it. I got to see it. I got to go back
Yeah.
and watch that.
And it was kind of the substitute for the Taker Warrior feud that didn't happen, because Taker and Jake were involved in the promos for that, where Jake is trying to teach Jake is trying to teach Warrior how to not fear death and ends up in that crypt with all the snakes. And then Warrior's climbing out and he puts his hand on Taker's boot. And then, shortly after that, we don't see Warrior anymore because, the whole holding the gun to McMahon's head.
Right.
Well, not literally, but, And this was what they came up with in place of that. And I just thought it was awesome. Great storytelling. That moment at the funeral parlor, like, one of what I feel is like the cornerstone Taker moment, because Jake's going with this whole like I'm the devil gimmick, and the devil meets a brick wall, which is Taker, and just the look on Taker's face as he's dragging that casket and Jake's
it's awesome.
face. And,
I got to go back and watch it again. I have one match left. I don't know how Vinny, your list is done. I have one left.
By the way, that match with Taker was Jake's bargaining point to get out of his contract.
Really?
Jake said if McMahon didn't let him out of his contract, he would no-show the match.
Wow.
Wow.
Dan, was that your number 3?
That was my number 3.
Yeah, so he needs to still. Do we
do your number 2? Because I wonder if your number 2 is going to be the same as my number 1.
My number 2 is probably your number 1.
All right, so I'll lead it off.
Whose is bigger?
1990.
Wait a minute.
1998. I'm stunned we haven't mentioned this 30 minutes into this. 1998. Undertaker versus Mankind.
Of course.
Hell in the Cell.
Number 1.
This is number 1 for me. Like this.
Me too.
Guys, this is the match we go back and watch. I know this is, you like the Taker Michaels match, but
Civic Arena in Pittsburgh.
I remember my friend on the bus who told me, "Hey, did you hear Mankind died yesterday?" What do you mean died? He's like, "No, go watch the match."
I remember
dude.
those rumors going around.
He fell off the
insane.
cage.
Yeah.
He threw him off the cage. So, you think the match is going to end there? Okay, that honestly, if it ended there, people would have been satisfied. And then everything Mick Foley, Mankind does after that, from the unplanned choke slam through the steel at the top because he was too big, to the tack tombstone. That match alone, I don't know how many times in history this has ever happened, where one match and one performance took a guy from upper mid-card, I'd say, to no doubt world champion. Like, everybody wanted to see Mick Foley, Mankind, throw himself through thumbtacks, fall off cages, do the whole hardcore routine, and he went from a champion, huge babyface because of one match that he lost. I love it. It's number 1 for me.
Another fun story with that. Mick actually got backstage, and about an hour afterward, Bruce Pritchard walking around the back thanked Mick for what he did, and Mick goes, "I'm sorry, I forgot the thumbtack spot." With tack sticking out of him still.
Mick.
Vinny with all the inside information from the Bruce Pritchard podcast, of course.
Did you know the other fun fact? There's a couple other fun facts about that match that make that like a great match. That match shows how tough Taker is because Taker's wrestling that match with a broken foot. Mm-hmm. Not only that, then there's another fun fact. Another fully fun fact is, when he's in the ring finally and Jarrett's saying, "What's that? He's smiling." He's not smiling. He's trying to stick his tongue through the cut in the front, right underneath his bottom lip.
No one's even touched that match since. No, you can't. McMahon won't let him do it.
And here's another thing that I love about
teeth,
that match.
They knocked his teeth out, right? Wasn't the deal with that?
It was a tooth in his nose, but Foley said that the tooth came out from the bottom of his mouth up to there. And one of the other things that I really love about that match is how, of all people to come running down, it's Terry Funk.
He chokeslammed him out of his shoes.
But who else but Terry Funk to come down there and deal with the whole, okay, Mick's really hurt. I know he wants the match to go on. What do? I'm going to take a choke slam. And that's one of the things I love about that match. And then there's like the sad parts about that match. Now, has anyone seen Holy Foley?
I saw parts of it. Yeah.
Yes.
There's that episode of Holy Foley where Foley goes into one of the warehouses.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
And he sees the cell, and he just breaks down.
Yeah, he freaks out when he sees it. It's crazy.
Well, that match messed up Foley completely. Well, other than that, now, who was the WCW scout that was in the audience at this event? And he saw this match, and he said, "We're done."
I don't know, but whoever it was,
I
would have thought.
I've heard this story before.
I think it was J.J. Dillon.
Okay.
I just know that there was a WCW scout in the audience at the time, and when he saw that match, he went and called, Turner or Bischoff or whoever and said, "Yeah, we're done."
This is the end. My list is done. Speaking about that, easy segue. Vinny's list is done. Do you guys
Mine's done.
And Dan Merrick got one more then.
Well, number one was WrestleMania 28. We already went over that. However, I would like to, just do a little honorable mention or perhaps a quiz. Now, can you guys tell me how many different special match types were invented just for Taker?
Well, he had a body bag match, a coffin match, casket,
buried alive,
Inferno, buried alive.
So many.
The one with Foley he did at SummerSlam '96.
Hell in the Cell.
The Backroom Brawl.
Yeah, Backroom Brawl.
Hell in the Cell. Yep. Wow.
How many have we got? I'm guessing the numbers.
Last ride match.
So we don't know the answer. I'm guessing 10 would have been the answer.
Yeah, the last ride match. Yeah.
I find it kind of surprising that we didn't have any of these matches
That's
on our
true.
list.
Right. No casket match, no Inferno match. Yeah.
Well, we picked some good ones. You see, that number 4 was so difficult for me because I wanted to get a Brett match. I really liked the Bam Bam match, and I thought maybe I should put the Inferno match on there. But my problem with the Inferno match was the ending. This is like, how lame is it that Kane just stumbles into the fire?
Yeah, the whole...
This is like, great grueling match, but, hey, Kane, we're going to end it with you tripping.
Yeah, I'm not big on a lot of the gimmick matches. You know what I mean? Hell in a Cell is one thing, but I'm really surprised nobody put down Undertaker versus Undertaker from SummerSlam '94.
The $1 million Undertaker,
was great and all that, but come on.
Let's recap our list again. I'm going to start here. My top 5
like
again.
Stretching the imagination, but there's a limit.
Survivor Series '91, Hogan versus Taker. My number 4 was HBK versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 25. My number 3, Jeff Hardy, Undertaker, July 1st, 2002 on Raw. Number 2, WrestleMania 14, Kane and Undertaker. Number 1, 1998 King of the Ring, Hell in the Cell, Mankind versus Undertaker.
Okay, and my list here, 1994, Superstars of Wrestling, Undertaker versus Tony DeVito.
Boring.
Number 4, Undertaker versus Triple H, Hell in a Cell, WrestleMania 28. Shawn Michaels, special referee. Number 3 was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, Bad Blood in Your House, 1997. Number 2, Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar, SummerSlam 2015, the big rematch. And number 1 was Undertaker versus Mankind, Hell in a Cell, King of the Ring 98.
2 Undertaker haters both have the same number 1 again.
That's crazy, right? Isn't that crazy?
Dan America, your number top 5 again. Your top 5.
Top 5. Number 5 was when Taker killed Hulkamania again at Judgment Day in 2002. Number 4 officially is Bam Bam Bigelow versus The Undertaker. Pretty sure it was a main eventer of Superstars. I could watch it on my phone, but that would take too long. Number 3 is Undertaker, Jake the Snake Roberts, WrestleMania 8. Then I cough and say number 2 is Foley versus Taker, Hell in a Cell, King of the Ring 98. That's right, Vinny?
That's right, King of the Ring. Yep, 98.
You got me all self-conscious now. Thanks a lot. And number 1 is Triple H versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 28, the apparent end of an era, and when Undertaker debuted his World of Warcraft gear. Now, you may notice I don't have any Michaels matches on here. I'm not saying that Michaels and Taker never had, I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy those matches. Those matches were great. However, in the later ones, I don't know, just something when Michaels went all Jesus, he kind of bugs me out.
No, the top 5 for you, Vinny.
I'm going to impress a little bit. I'm going to name the towns they were in.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Somebody's flexing at the gym.
Hey, I just saw you open that computer. You're
yeah, wait
cheating.
a second. No, wait.
No. I was doing something.
He was looking at the computer.
No. You want to see what I was doing?
No, I don't.
What are you doing over there?
Look at the screen. I was
Oh, my
doing
God,
something.
he was looking at porn.
I was doing something for our outro, damn it!
That
He
is
was watching the
disgusting.
Hogan sex tape.
Go
I
ahead.
saw it.
Vinny, go ahead. Your
I've
top
already
5.
watched it
before
enough times. I don't need to see a
God.
floppy one. Anyway,
Give me your top
number
5.
5 in Orlando, WrestleMania 24, Undertaker versus Edge. Number 4, this was in the Kemper Arena, St. Louis, Missouri. Taker versus HBK, Bad Blood, Hell in a Cell, 97. In 2012, Taker versus Triple H, that's in Miami, WrestleMania 28. Number 2, in Baltimore, Maryland, the First Mariner Arena, Undertaker versus Kurt Angle, No Way Out. And number 1, Houston, Texas. Houston, we have a problem because number 1 wasn't on any of your lists, at least at number 1. Undertaker versus HBK. I'm trying to get riled up.
I had the HBK on my list.
I'm riled up, Gus.
I know
you said
you
I
are.
was watching porn.
No, I didn't. I said you were watching Teletubbies.
All right, so we got about another
Hey!
20 minutes left. A quick healer face for the superstar shakeup of what's happened currently with the product. The guy is moving around. If we'd like to move to the new brand, either Raw or SmackDown, Dan America, you
Can I
started.
say what I wrote down?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're doing the quick Weekend Wrestling.
Do it. I like it.
I just wanted to say Weekend.
Do it Warrior style. Do it Warrior style. Come on.
Okay.
Come on.
We are doing the Weekend Wrestling.
The snort's what it's all about at the end. That's what it's all about.
Oh, God.
You look just like the Elephant Warrior when he did it too. Are you okay? I thought you got hurt.
That happens to me.
He's
sometimes.
in another galaxy right now.
Parts unknown.
If in the description of this you could link something, I have something that everyone always finds amusing, Warrior related to this time of the year. When my friend and I were doing the Real American Wrestling Critics, I used to dress up in face paint and streamers and stuff. And
Why does this not surprise me?
Well, I used to do a Warrior intro, and when it came time for Easter, I came up with the brilliant idea that I was going to crack a dozen eggs over my head,
my
and then
God.
top it off with chocolate syrup. I'll send you
You
the
are
link.
so weird.
And I am not weird. Anyway, we're talking about the Superstar Shakeup.
Yes,
I'll
that's
tell
right.
you what was weird about that.
What was it? Give us a heel, face, or eggs, or whatever you want to call it.
I give it a face, and I think that Raw has some egg on its face now because I just don't care for The Miz. I'm sorry. I find him to be he's an overactor. Like, well, watch. Here's my impression of The Miz. Hey guys, I like the Undertaker. What are you going to do about it? Because I like him. I like him. I like him. See there on The Miz. I just don't really care for him. I'm a SmackDown guy now. I'm no longer a Raw guy. I am a SmackDown guy, and that's why I give it a face, because I wanted to be a SmackDown guy. And I didn't really enjoy SmackDown as much as I wanted to before, primarily because of The Miz and Cena and Nikki Bella. And now they're all history, and SmackDown has Charlotte. They have Kevin Owens. They have Sami Zayn. They have Jinder Mahal. But most important, SmackDown is now the home of Shinsuke Nakamura.
Awesome. And plus the New Day as well. So you're saying SmackDown won the Superstar Shakeup with all the talent they got?
Well, Jinder Mahal kind of screwed it up for everyone when he gave Balor that concussion.
Well, his face shouldn't have been there. Finn Balor's
Guys,
face.
shut up.
He's number 5 in my top 5 overrated of all time.
Did you see the hit?
Yes, I saw it. Yes, it's Mahal's fault.
Jinder looks so pissed.
Yes,
like
it's
he
his
looks
fault.
like
Balor's
fine. Don't
face
put him in
looked
there,
like
then.
greased lightning during the drag race scene when they went over that jump. It was just a...
Yeah, it was rough. Raw, SmackDown, who won the Superstar Shakeup? Who gets your credit?
I'm still going with SmackDown. I mean, man, Raw definitely is going to be a little bit fresher now. It's just, man, Charlotte, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. You're going to be ended up putting Kevin Owens in there with Styles. What a match that's going to end up being. Everybody that went to SmackDown, it just made it so much better. I'm a SmackDown guy. I was before. I am now. Face for SmackDown.
There is one thing that I forgot to mention about Raw that I think is pretty cool. That I don't think. Did anyone else mark out when the Revival came out?
It was awesome. Those guys are really
thank you.
good,
Well,
man.
they debuted the week before, though.
Yeah, but we haven't really talked about
Right, okay.
what happened
when they came out, like when they debuted. Oh man, I was
Yeah.
hyped. I was so hyped, bro.
I give the credit for. I'm going to say I like the Raw brand still better, but I like what SmackDown did because if you find the audience of what people like, so like I like Nakamura. I think he's awesome. Vinny's wearing a shirt. You like Nakamura, but I also like Bray Wyatt. I think they understand that the people who would like Bray Wyatt are not 7-year-old kids, but the kids who would like John Cena might be 7. So they have to figure out a way to like, okay, if I put
Let
half
John
the
Cena wrestle Saturday mornings.
No,
and
but,
the
like,
problem's taken care of.
have the stuff like split it up, like the New Day. Okay, kids might like the New Day, but also have something that the kids could like here. Like have fans of our stuff split up the wrestlers. Like I'll watch Raw and SmackDown now because of Wyatt on Raw and then Nakamura on SmackDown. If Nakamura was on Raw, I don't know if I would watch SmackDown. I don't know who I like. AJ Styles, but I don't know if I'd tune into it. I like how they split it up. For me personally, so that's a selfish answer. So I like Raw. So
AJ's on Raw now, right?
No,
AJ's on SmackDown.
I am
Oh,
happy
he
that
is.
they kept AJ
okay.
on SmackDown because that means we have the possibility of an AJ and Nakamura match.
yeah, it's awesome.
That alone, win for the draft.
Well, I've always been a Raw guy, so I'm sticking with Raw. Not happy about Charlotte moving, right? She
Yeah.
moved to SmackDown. I think she's great. I think she's one of the best female wrestlers out
You
there.
got Mickie James and
I mean-
Alexa Bliss, two great
Well,
asses.
yeah, but I'm talking. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, as
Both
far as
asses better than
wrestling skill,
Charlotte's.
though, I think Charlotte's great. I am not happy with we watched the Roman Reigns Braun Strowman angle last
I
week,
love that.
where he got destroyed. Come on. He pushed a stretcher down these steps with a dummy in it. They did a terrible editing job. It looked ridiculous.
You can't. I believe the fact that he flipped that ambulance. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I love how then he goes into a smaller ambulance.
You're
afterwards.
supposed to suspend disbelief, right? Is that the word they use? But I mean,
they were suspending the ambulance with a crane.
What are you talking about? There was a dummy there. I signed a petition to get Braun Strowman fired on
Oh, my
change.org.
God.
Let me tell you
hear about that.
Reigns should have took it like a man and took that bump in the stretcher.
Yeah.
He should have went down. But no, I just thought it was a little silly. But I can't get into SmackDown, no matter what kind of shakeup they do. I'm a Raw guy. I always have been. It's the show I've always watched.
I wonder if it's the time of the show or if it's the date of the show. It's
It's way too long.
Right.
It's still 3 hours is way too long.
3 hours is long to invest anything in life, like a movie. Like every week you have to watch it. That's what Raw is. It's tough to.
That's probably why I don't get around to watching SmackDown for 2 hours, because I'm invested in that 3 hours on Monday nights.
And you know what's good? You know what? Raw kind of takes away from SmackDown because, you watch 3 hours of Raw, then you watch 2 hours of SmackDown the next night. So by the next night, you're kind of exhausted because you spent like 2 nights watching 5 hours of wrestling.
Yeah. So what do I do? Give a face or a heel on this?
Yeah, I like Raw more. I give it a face.
I'll give it a face because I like Raw more. That's it.
Well, I like them both. I just hope The Miz gets injured or something.
I had one thing I wanted to bring up, unless you have another thing on your list here about the SmackDown Raw shakeups when it involves the broadcasters.
Nothing really. Nothing
right.
more.
I have a lot to say about those broadcasters.
Yes, and this is the
go.
broadcaster move. So we see the move between Byron Saxton now moves from Raw to SmackDown. David Otunga comes over. But there's a missing voice now on SmackDown. His name is Mauro Ranallo. And if you haven't heard the story, Vinny, I'm going to let you take this. Set up the story of what's happened here with Mauro Ranallo and JBL, allegedly.
Mauro Ranallo, a lot of the issues that he's had in his life, he's battled depression, anxiety. And anybody that watches wrestling is going to know when you're working with JBL, if you got some insecurities, he's probably going to pounce on them.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, I've read comments from Jerry Lawler saying that's how he is. He doesn't mean anything by it. He's a boisterous, outspoken person. Don't do that to somebody on TV. Flat out. I don't care if he didn't mean it or not. If Mauro's got those issues, Mauro is a outstanding announcer. Don't do that to him. The allegations are of bullying, and there are multiple reports in the past. Blue Meanie, a lot of other guys as well, a lot of jobbers, The Miz, Justin Roberts, of being bullied by JBL. And you can even look back. Like, there is a photo online of Meanie with stitches up his whole forehead after being beaten up by JBL. The dude, I don't know. I don't know the whole story. None of us know the whole story. If he is a bully, he should be fired. If this is all BS, he shouldn't.
And that makes it interesting for me, and here's why. If there's bullying and they do the anti-bullying stuff, I get that. WWE has to take a stand.
Right.
And I think I teased this to one of you guys, and I think I need a little perspective here from Tig.
And I think JBL's a horrible horrible announcer.
Yeah, and it is not the best, but I can't remember at a time in wrestling.
Better than Corey Graves.
Was there ever a time? Hang on. Was there ever a time when there was a 4-person announce team? A 4-person announce team?
Probably in WCW, but then again, look how that happened.
I don't recall.
I can't think of one, right?
I can't recall, but I do like JBL in his I find him funny.
He can be comedic.
I think he does a decent job, but if these are in fact true, if he's bullying, obviously he shouldn't be working.
Right. Now that's what brings us to the point that, okay, you have a 4-person announce booth, let's say, I think it was in August or September, where it's JBL, Otunga, Tom Phillips, and Mauro Ranallo. Why did they add a 4th broadcaster?
And is it possible that alone spawned insecurity in Ranallo?
Definitely not necessary.
Right. So you add a 4th broadcaster. So either two things happened. Either one, it sparked that, or two, they knew Mauro was going to be out the door. Like they already had it set up where, like, when he's gone, because all he did.
They got a point there.
Right. All he did, Tom Phillips, was toss the promos or toss the commercial. Ranallo called play-by-play. Otunga and JBL tossed it in. So why did you bring in Phil? Like, no one's asking that question, which I don't understand. You brought in someone else. Like, we all right here work in radio, right?
Yep.
We all have a show. We all do our thing. If someone walked up to us and said, hey, Tig, hey, Vinny, hey, Dan America, like the show, but we're going to add somebody, we would all freak out. Like, we all know moves in this business, and this is where we can all offer perspective. We all know something doesn't happen with no reason.
Right.
If you're on a morning show and it's 2 guys and they add a female, someone asked for the female to be on the show. If you're 2 guys in your 40s and they add someone who's 25, Someone asked for that.
Yeah.
That's what's not making sense here with Ranallo. Like, everyone says the bullying thing, but I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like the WWE knew something was going to happen.
Well, and the other thing, too, Ranallo, in my opinion, one of the better announcers in WWE.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
He is so good. He knows the moves. He really gets you into the matches. He has an excitement about him, similar to what JR had.
Yeah, he was almost like the second coming of JR,
Right.
and that's what disappoints me.
But that's also, like, it just doesn't make sense as to why WWE, many people would watch SmackDown for him. Like, a lot of people, I remember watching SmackDown for the first time in years because I wanted to hear this guy do commentary.
He's amazing, and I'm a boxing and a UFC guy. That's
So
how we got
you've
to
had
start.
experience
Well,
with
this
it.
one,
Yeah.
Corey Graves is behind it.
What is your beef with Corey Graves? I want to find this out quick because I think Graves is also one of the
I
best
think
announcers.
that
He's still
he's-
on Raw, by the way. Yep.
I feel that his style is too shallow. It's transparent. Everything that he's doing, it's like he's fresh out from radio school. That's just my opinion.
Well, we're never going to get another Bobby Heenan Gorilla Monsoon
Of
team.
course
so.
not.
That was awesome. That was the best. I'm cool with them going back to the 2-person commentary booths.
Yeah,
I don't,
two is fine. Well, I don't think
get
you
it.
need
Right.
three people.
My beef, though, by the way, with the commentary switch up when it comes to the draft, why on earth does Otunga still have a headset? What on earth? Otunga is god-awful. And you're going to put him on your A show?
Let's just do this. I don't want to bring it up, but let's just bring up the elephant in the room. There's a similarity between NXT, SmackDown, and Raw involving 3-person commentary booths. They all have something in common. They're not white. Like, let's be honest. Like, are they doing that? Like,
geez.
no, on purpose. Like,
Well,
right? Are they
actually,
doing that? Because all 3 guys are black commentators.
Funny you should bring that up because NXT just, oh man. I forget
Percy
his-
Watson.
Yeah, Percy Watson. I just saw that last night.
So, I guess
I
you
like
d-
him better than Corey Graves.
I mean, I don't want to be a jerk about it, but let's just be honest about it. Like, that's been the addition to the broadcast booth. I don't know if,
Booker-
again,
I
someone
enjoy
called
it.
for
There
that.
was
or not.
Booker T in the past,
Right.
Well,
and you had Taz, but Taz was kind of in between.
Well, no, something changed. Like, something
Yeah.
happened where it's like,
Wait, was Taz Italian?
I don't know if it wasn't someone with whatever it may be, well, like Sasha Banks is half black and white. I don't want to make it a race thing, but it's out there. Like, why is that happening? Like, Vinny, you pointed
Yeah.
out, why is David Otunga doing that? I don't-
Right.
Like, why is the always got to be the black guys feuding with the black guys? Do you ever notice that?
That's like a deeper thing in wrestling, right? But like, there's something to that where it's like, okay, I don't know where we're going with this, but let's just point out what it is. Like, it is
like
obvious.
of all the teams for them to have the primetime players feud with at the time, they had to feud with the New Day, and I was just like, huh. Yeah.
I would
Okay.
just gladly get SmackDown back some shucky ducky quack quack.
Now, do you want to move on because we're
Yeah,
starting
we
to-
got about 5
Yeah.
minutes left, so we have to go quick on
Okay,
this.
we're starting to tread. I don't want to tread into the bullying, backstage politics, and all that anymore because wrestling's fun, wrestling is awesome, and that is why I want to talk about something that we haven't talked about since I've been on the show, and that is NXT. Now, do you guys watch NXT?
I watch it at my
Sporadically.
leisure.
Do you know what's coming?
I don't watch.
Oh man,
unfortunately.
I like NXT more than the other shows because and this new crop that is coming in is freaking awesome. And like last NXT show, I got to see the return of Drew McIntyre. The guy hasn't lost a beat. The guy has gotten better since he's been away. There are some awesome tag teams coming up in NXT, like Heavy Machinery.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the Natural Disasters, but they're actually fit. You have DIY. I always get their names wrong for some
Gargano
reason.
and Ciampa and all them. Yeah.
Johnny Wrestling. You got the Authors of Pain, managed by none other than Precious Paul Ellering. Nice. You have Sanity. You guys aware of Eric Young and Sanity?
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I
And Nikki
love that.
Cross?
I love that entrance.
And you got Ember Moon, Aleister Black. Did I say that already?
Oh my god,
that guy
he
was
is-
insane.
Wow.
Well, they're all going to make their way into the big league soon. They'll be on WWE
Here's
TV.
my one
probably.
fear for NXT, and I wonder if this is going to happen. When NXT was creating stars and it was FCW, it was WWE people, WWE people. They're bringing over people who made a name, and I guess in the indie circuit or other companies. Is that hurting the development of the guys who are like strictly in the house? Okay.
Not at all. I feel that it makes them better because you get excited about seeing someone like Eric Young pop out, and then they have him feuding with Ty Dillinger,
Right.
and now Ty Dillinger's has been brought up, but also Ty Dillinger's going to be facing Eric Young in a steel cage on NXT pay-per-view, I believe, and pretty much what it's doing is it's taking the more experienced guys and helping them push the younger, less experienced guys, because now you're seeing someone like Eric Young put over Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, I think NXT is awesome. I think at times it can be a little too nichey to like the straight up wrestler, less storylines, just match, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited. They had this big, huge guy who debuted last time, like Wiley or Smiley.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome. I don't know who he is. I can just tell he's going to be a freak. I don't know what he is.
Wiley
but I like
Smiley?
No. Or you wouldn't say this is a guy's face.
It's like Drew
This
Smiley
guy
or
has
something.
legs like tree trunks.
I've never seen anything like this.
Ridiculous. His finisher was a jumping power slam.
I don't know where they found him. I think it was on Mars or something.
I think they found him. They must have went to Middle Earth and found a cave troll. This guy is huge.
He's Lesnar-esque. Like, that's the other way I can describe
yeah.
it. Like, he looks like the next Lesnar.
When I saw the guy, I was just like, oh no, there goes Braun.
Oh boy.
Because this guy's like huge and built like a freaking locomotive.
What are you going to say, Vinny? Go ahead.
The big thing that I have one issue with NXT when it comes to, and no disrespect, love Drew McIntyre. I wish they did a lot more with him in his first run. How do you take a guy like a Drew McIntyre who left the company in 3-man band? How do you take him, elevate him in NXT? Because he is eventually going to win the NXT
It's called the
championship.
Cena effect.
But how does, when he gets up to the main roster, how are you going to legitimize this guy? Hey, he was a jobber before. Sorry, now he's going to become a champion.
Let him cut a pipe bomb type promo to explain himself, why he went to the Indies. Why he already did it. He said that he could have gone to Raw, he could have gone to SmackDown, but he wanted to be in NXT. That was the promo that he cut after his match last night. He specifically said, I could have gone to Raw, I could have gone to SmackDown. Well, he worded it a little bit differently, but he said that he wanted to be NXT because NXT is where it's at. And now this pushes the NXT because you have a recognizable star like Drew McIntyre on there, who is just returning from the Indies. He captured the TNA title, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
And now here he is back on NXT saying that he wanted to be in NXT. And like I was saying, it's an older guy helping push the younger talent that's coming through. So it's not taking away from the younger talent. It's adding to it. And besides, if you saw him in that match last night, he is a changed man.
Oh, I'm not even saying that.
I'm going to go watch that match tonight, but the NXT product has done this. They've created some great wrestlers, not divas, female wrestlers. And that's going to be a little tease to next week. Next week, we're counting down the top 5 female wrestlers of all time. Maybe one was in NXT before. You'll get our list next time on As the Heel Turns.
Whenever I see Asuka, you know what I think?
What, Dan America? What do you think? We're back soon. It's the As the Heel Turns podcast for Dan America, for Tigman, for Vinny. I'm Gaz. We'll catch you soon.
Next week on As the Heel Turns, the guys count down the top 5 female wrestlers of all time.